There's this ancient Latin phrase that's been a touchstone for, well, pretty much everyone. Philosophers, emperors, artists, and believe it or not, even data scientists today. It's this powerful concept that isn't about being afraid, but about creating urgency, clarity, and real meaning. And it's all packed into just 3 little words.
So what are these magic words? Memento Mori. And at its heart, the message is, well, it's pretty blunt. Remember, you will die. Now, I know what you're thinking. That sounds kind of morbid, right? But it's not about being obsessed with death. It's actually a tool, a psychological kick in the pants to stop sleepwalking through your days and, start living with some real intention. And this really gets to the core of the whole idea. The Stoic philosopher Seneca, he just nailed it. He said, look, the problem isn't that our lives are too short. The problem is that we waste so much of the time we do have. We act like time is this infinite resource, like we've got an endless supply, and we squander it. It's our most precious, non-renewable asset, and we treat it like it's nothing. Okay, so if we're all wasting our time, what's the fix? Well, for the Stoics, the answer was to go right back to the very beginning, to the philosophical roots of it all. The Stoics pointed out something that's kind of wild when you think about it. We are so careful with our money, right? We budget, we save, but we're totally extravagant with our time. And why is that? It's because deep down, we act like we're gonna live forever. So the antidote, they said, was to actively, consciously meditate on your own mortality. And this wasn't just some abstract thought exercise. No way. This was a super practical tool. The Roman Emperor Marcus Aurelius, one of the most powerful men in the world, would tell himself every single day, you could leave life right now. Let that determine what you do and say and think. Talk about a reality check. Okay, but let's be real. A philosophical idea can feel a little abstract, right? I mean, how do you make something as huge as mortality tangible? Something you can see and feel? Well, for centuries, the answer was art. Artists gave us these incredibly powerful visual reminders. And they got so creative with it. There's this whole genre of painting called vanitas. And in these paintings, literally every single object is a symbol. You'd see a skull, that's the obvious one, right? A direct reminder of death. But then you'd also see an hourglass or a clock to show time just marching on, unstoppable, or maybe some wilting flowers or rotten fruit, all to symbolize that life and beauty is fleeting. And here's the thing, this reminder wasn't just for the philosophers or the rich, it was for absolutely everyone. There was this popular artistic theme called the danse macabre, the dance of death, and it would show skeletons literally dancing and leading people from every part of society. We're talking popes, kings, peasants, kids, everyone, to their grave. The message couldn't be clearer. Death is the great equalizer. It doesn't care who you are. It's coming for us all. So I get it. This all feels very historical, right? Skulls, hourglasses, medieval art. But here's the kicker. The basic human problem of wasting time, that hasn't gone anywhere. And because of that, Memento Mori hasn't gone away either. It's just changed its look. So that brings us to the big question, doesn't it? In our world of constant digital distractions and endless productivity hacks, what does remembering death even look like today? Well, the symbols have definitely evolved. Instead of a skull sitting on your desk, now you might have a chart showing your entire life laid out in weeks. The public art on a church wall, that's been replaced by a personalized PDF sent to your email. And those universal symbols that everyone understood, now they've become these super specific, data-driven reminders tailored just for you. Yep, you heard that right. This ancient philosophical practice has officially been turned into a product. It's like Silicon Valley meets Stoicism. You've got entrepreneurs and modern-day philosophers creating services that deliver these reminders straight to your inbox. And they frame it not as something to be scared of, but as a kickstart for what they call intentional living. And the way it works is actually pretty simple. You give it some basic info, like your birthday, maybe the birthdays of people you care about, and in return you get this incredible visualization. It might be a grid of dots showing your life in weeks, with the ones you've already lived filled in. It really highlights how many you've had and, how many you might have left on average. It is a stark, super personal, and totally data-driven memento mori for the 21st century. But what happens if we take this idea and just scale it way, way up? I mean, instead of a personal reminder just for one person, what if there was a memento mori for our entire society? Well, as it turns out, there is. So meet the 21st century skull, the actuarial report. I know, it doesn't sound as cool, but stick with me. There are organizations like the Society of Actuaries Research Institute whose whole job is to track mortality trends for the entire population. They basically compare what we expected to happen with what actually happened. It gives us this real-time, bird's-eye view of life and death on a massive, massive scale. And one of the key things they look at is something called excess mortality. It sounds complicated, but it's really not. Think of it this way. Based on years and years of data, experts can make a pretty good guess about how many people are likely to die in a given year. But sometimes the actual number of deaths is higher than that forecast. And that gap, that difference between what was expected and what really happened, that is excess mortality. It's an incredibly powerful way to see the real impact of major events on all of us as a society. So what's the latest data telling us? Well, here's the number from their most recent analysis. For the 12 months ending in June 2024, the actual number of deaths for Americans over 65 was about 2.5% higher than what the pre-pandemic trends predicted. And that's not just a gut feeling or an estimate. That is a precise, calculated number, a modern memento mori, reminding us of our collective fragility. But the data isn't all grim. It also tells a story of resilience, which is pretty amazing. So, for example, if you look at males between 65 and 74, you can see this really clear trend. Back in 2021, the ratio of actual deaths to expected deaths was almost 20% higher than normal. But by 2023, it was almost all the way back down to the baseline. So you see, the data doesn't just show us death, it tracks our journey back from really challenging times. And that brings us right back around, full circle, to our old friend Seneca. After all the philosophy, all the ancient art, and all the modern data, the conclusion is exactly the same. The future is totally uncertain. It's not guaranteed for any of us. The only time we really have is right now, this very moment. So, there you have it. The skulls, the paintings, the data charts, they've all delivered their message, Memento Mori. You've been reminded. And so the only real question left is, what are you going to do about it? How are you going to spend your time?